everyone, and welcome to the one, the only, the Fan Show presented by Northwestern Mutual. And it feels good to say something like that. And normally Doug pops out of somewhere and shouts, Northwestern Mutual, because that's his whole thing now. But the Fan Show has its sponsor. We announced that last week. And so we're back kind of up and running business as usual. And so today there is no Zach, there is no film breakdown, but we have a great guest. She is most commonly known as LWJ. It is Linda Jacobson. Welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. What day is it? But I'm doing good.
Yeah, that seems to be a common thing. I just posted my winter sports tour recap, and it's crazy to think that we're already at spring. And if you know anything about spring sports in Montana, it's the shortest season, like for a couple of reasons. One, because you only have half of March, April, and May. And then if weather doesn't cooperate, which it never does, then you've got games that get canceled that have no shot of being rescheduled because what are you going to do? Summer school? Like it's a very bittersweet time, and I always feel for the spring sports athletes because they count down the whole year to get here, and there might not even be a championship.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I have two kids and they're in high school, the spring sports, so I feel it. I feel it.
So you and I had talked, I went down to the Golden Goat, which I just talked about on the last episode, was a great time. And so the kind of the history behind that, and we had talked about possibly doing some sort of collaborative where you wanted to, get your reach out there, much like me. And so we wanted to maybe coordinate where you could come up to Great Falls to be on the coaches show, because we had a couple of weeks where we were like light on guests because there was like postseason and tournaments happening. But I said, let's just do this, give you as much time as you need to have a platform and everything. And so for those that may not know, help them understand just what is LWJ College Fit.
Well, I appreciate this. I mean, we met, it's going to be a year, so we've had some really good convos. So I'm
Yeah.
number one, I appreciate just everything that you do. I'm a big fan of the fan show. So, but yeah, I'm a Montanan. I've been around a long time. I started my company actually, it's 4 years, 2 days ago.
Wow.
So I've been around 4 years, but I have been with recruiting for about 11. The reason I started this is I used to coach for Hellgate. I was assistant coach then, and there were some girls on that team that we would have bus rides, and I heard them talking about being recruited. And I was wondering, well, why don't they know this stuff? And I started researching like a parent. I'm like, well, if I was a parent, what would I want to know? And I realized everything, and this was 2015, 2016, everything was so generic and it felt as if you had to be a certain way to get the help, or there was these big companies that, they've been marketing kids for a while. I don't know. And I realized that it for a kid to be recruited, it had to be pretty specialized. And then I started talking to some college coaches and realized, well, number one, I like everything about this. So I kind of timing was weird. A lot of not great things happened. I lost my job, my full-time job. And then my mom passed away in December of 2021 all of a sudden. And I tell this all the time, but maybe people don't know, is she had been praying for me for 10 years for me to find a job that I love. And I lost her, and that's pretty much kind of what drove me. And so that was December of 2021. I launched it March of 2022.
Wow.
And I've been doing it ever since. But yeah, and it's grown. But yeah, I try to help kids pretty much. They're going through a life altering situation where they have to be their own negotiator, they have to go through business deals, they have to pretty much one of the biggest decisions of their life, and no one's taught them how.
Yeah, the world of sports, especially at the college level, has forever changed. I think it's, genie is out of the bottle, like it's never going to go back. But the what you guys have to basically battle, and what parents have to go through now with the NIL and everything
Hmm.
is a nightmare that I don't wish upon anybody. And I do think it's funny. Now, as somebody who's recently declared that they're a Cats fan, I do think it's funny that Bobby Houck, who I was never a big fan of in the beginning, um, said that it was too much and he had to get out and retire. And then that lasted 3 days, and he's with Illinois now. But I think it's just as long as you don't have to deal with the problem, then it's fine. In at the
True.
coaches show last night, I told Coach Rob for the Great Falls High Bison softball, I said, because this is his first year as a head coach. He's been assistant for a long time, but now he's the head coach. And him and I laughed at the differences, which is basically for me, I have the phrase that sounds like a Monday problem because I block out my Monday to handle all my business stuff and get things prepped for the week to come. And if
Hmm.
Friday rolls around and my wife says, "Hey, don't you need to do such and such or get back to this person?" I go, "That sounds like a Monday problem, you know?" So for an assistant
Yeah.
coach, their phrase is that sounds like a head coach problem. But when you are the head coach, it now becomes your problem. So it's a whole lot of headache that I do not envy anybody in that position or even I guess acting as messenger or middleman like you kind of are. But I do know that there is a value for it, absolutely, and even I guess one could go so far as to say a market for it because before we got to Montana, which oddly enough, yesterday was my 4 year anniversary here. So you started doing this around the same time that I got here. Coincidence? I think not. So, um, but
Nice.
when I lived in Omaha and I was working for the arena team there to get some side work during the off season. One of the guys that I worked with was part of this ACC network. Now, not the ACC that everybody's thinking right off the bat. It was called the ACC network for short, but basically what he would have me do and what he did was he would take these videos of swimmers and it would be the 50, the 100, the butterfly, the breaststroke, whatever. And at the start, you put like a circle around them, right? This is the person that we're looking at. And then start the video, timer, and then official time. And so you'd have opening thing, logo, closing thing, logo, easy enough, send it. And they would post that on their site because that's where they would direct all the college recruiters and coaches to go and see
Hmm.
boys, girls, breaststroke, freestyle, whatever. That was their database where they could go and see all these people who were serious about swimming and go. And so I think that more, and I'm sure that there are more now looking back, that was 2021, but I think having something like that for everybody is a huge tool. And I think that's ultimately like what you've been trying to do with or without a website network like that, but helping to bridge that gap.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. It's bridging the gap while trying to help them understand that every little thing that they do, especially if they're under the radar, which we're in Montana, there's a lot of kids that are under the radar. It's bridging the gap, but also, okay, well, every time you communicate, how are you standing out from the 30 other people doing the same thing?
Yeah.
And they don't, and there's just a lot. There's a lot of copying. There's a lot of kids saying, well, if my friend did it this way, or I can post this on social and they did it, then I'll just copy what they did. But I've been doing this 4 years. I've I think we're going on 55 kids after my 2026 class, and every single one of them have gone through it and it's been different.
Yeah. And to that, so I just got done speaking at Great Falls High for
Oh
a
yeah.
couple of days to talk about the two sides of my coin, the fan show, the media and marketing side, and then obviously the broadcast journalism side. And I always start, this is like the third time that I've done it, and I always start each one with the same disclaimer, as I call it, and that is that my experience is not your experience. What
Mhm.
my journey to where I am started very differently, definitely not traditionally. Like I did not graduate with aspirations and a goal to get into a communications school and then follow that up the totem pole however far I wanted to go. I started at like 35 and
Yeah.
and had to figure it out from there. And so I always say don't cherry pick the stuff that sounds like the easy way. Like take the stuff that relates to you
Mhm.
if it's everything or if it's nothing, but take the stuff as it relates to you. So when you talk about girls or boys and like, oh well, my friend did it this way, so I'm just going to copy and paste. Like you can't have that mindset because a lot of these coaches and recruiters are looking for people that are going to separate themselves from the rest of the herd, which is what you're trying to help facilitate, but you can't have them within your network copy everybody else because then they just get lost in the noise of the network.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing. One of the hard, it's this being recruited is not easy. Even for the kids, I mean, I've gone through a Gatorade Player of the Year down to somebody that went through their high school senior season and had no offers. I mean, it's not easy. But I always tell my families that I I learned a lot from Robin Selvig, and many people don't even know who he is, which is mind blowing. But he's he is and will always will be the standard that I try to help kids find. And those coaches are still out there. And it's the good coach. And these kids are reaching out. Number one, their priorities sometimes have to get realigned just because they're not educated about this. But you can't be chasing offers. You have to be chasing your best fit. And that's no matter the level, but to find a good coach that, number one, develops you, that has a program around them, an administration down to the coaches, that you will thrive and the community supports you. I mean, and academically is always number one. So these kids, they're so focused on a lot of them, which is just kids, posting their best highlight film, and they think that's gonna attract those good coaches. And then when they start getting responses from coaches, now that's a whole other set, is that these kids aren't taught how to communicate back or read the room on what coaches are saying. And not every coach is a good coach.
No,
So,
not. Yeah, that's very true. And what you said about finding the right fit, I think is very true. Because there was, I think I would have been difficult to work with, but that's because I like to ride the momentum as long as I can. Like I hate the oh, I wish I would have, of life. I hate those moments. But a quarterback from Great Falls High who graduated last year, and this was his first year at Tech, who I've, come to know very well. He great quarterback, also a punter, and so he could have gone, and I think his coach told me that there were discussions that he could have gone to Northern, probably started at QB his first year. Like I said, very good quarterback, and it was Tech though that had the program and that he wanted to go into. And so now you have somebody actually thinking about their future life after
mhm,
football. Where for me, it's just like, where can I go and win the most championships and enjoy this while I can because I'm not going to go pro. And we'll worry about the other stuff later. But no, he had the foresight to be like, well, I'm going to be a punter. I'm not going to be quarterback here. I'm going to be a punter, but this
mhm,
is the place that's going to help me get that jump start on life after football. And so I think that's something that I couldn't imagine the battle on your end because I assume you have conversations of both degrees as far as somebody that wants to go and ride the lightning as long as they can at a Carroll or a Western or a Tech. And then you have the others that are just like, well, yeah, but what about after football? What about after college? Because 4 years goes by so fast at that level.
mhm. Yeah, it's a common conversation, and it's also I mean, it's a lot of kids, they want to be recruited, but then, and it's just how nowadays are. There's so much going on and there's so much movement. Kids want to be recruited, but they don't even know the differences between the levels and how they recruit. Oh, and by the way, let's throw in the fact that every single coach and program recruits differently at every level. And yeah, the kids, I mean, it's such a it's so many different layers and understanding that, oh my gosh, yes, you want to be recruited, but this is about what you're doing in 5 years more than anything. And a lot of kids, I mean, I was one of them, but that was also 30 years ago. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So trying to get them to not only understand who to reach out to, but maybe if you're reaching out to a coach and number one, it's in Florida and you don't want to go that far from home, then maybe don't email them. And then if you're not going to be a teacher or a engineer, maybe don't reach out to schools that don't offer that.
Yeah, I'm secretly waiting because I'm sure it's around the corner. Because I'm the kind of person that would push those buttons without meaning to push buttons at all. But I mean, yeah, just ask certain ADs and certain a athletic personnel around the state. But
Uh-huh.
uh, I know that I'm going to get that conversation from a parent that I put too many dreams in somebody's head because I'm not afraid to, if I have a good conversation, like there was a kid, Eli Christ on the coach's show. He was on the swim team. It came out of left field, did not expect this. We had one of the best interactions on the coach's show in our 15 minutes. I wanted to go for longer. And turns out he's like a business major and stuff. But I asked him, I said, have you ever given any thought to being like, a broadcaster, news reporter, or sports analyst? Because you've got the chops for it. And I do not think that any of them have ever had that kind of question
Mm,
thrown their way. Like I'll ask cheerleaders, have you ever thought about a career in pro wrestling? Because they need athletic ability to do those tumbles and
yeah.
handsprings. And there was somebody that just had a whole highlight profile done on her last night. That she came from the world of competitive cheer, and now she's a world champion at the highest level of professional wrestling. Like it's crazy to me, and I just know that these kids do not get those questions thrown their way like
Hmm.
ever. And so I'm waiting for the parent that gets mad at me because I threw somebody off the beaten path that they had laid out for them. And that's okay. That is a cross I will
Yeah.
bear. I'm happy to do it. But yeah, it's been an interesting um, challenge in certain aspects for me. I mean, well, you know about the whole MHSA thing,
Hmm.
but also with the conclusion of the winter sports season means that I have spring sports season, a whole new chance for people to not know who I am, which full disclosure, I have never been a person to walk in somewhere and be like, "Don't you know who I am?" Because I was told very early that that's very taboo, very frowned upon. And so I've always practiced to not be that person. But can we all agree that the rudest question a person can answer, like top three, the rudest question someone can ask anybody is, "Who are you?" Like, it just I've gotten that a few times, and I'm like, there are so many other ways that you can politely ask somebody who they are that you don't know who they are without being, who are you? Like, it's just this the rudest thing.
Yeah. 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 But also, I mean, that it's so strange to me too. How, by now, how do they not know who you
I
are?
don't expect them to. I just think that if I was in that situation, like roles reversed, shoes on the other foot,
Yeah.
it's you go up to somebody and be like, hey, I'm Richard with, Fairfield High School. I say that because that's exactly where it happened at last time. So I didn't mean to. I was trying to use a random example and I couldn't.
Way to go.
So I'm so and so the athletic director with Fairfield High School, and you are, and then I say, oh, I'm Richard with the Fan Show, blah 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 blah, and then you have this exchange, and it's polite, and it's up, it's not negative or I guess it's serious, but to go up to somebody and it happens at the most random spots, class B and C. So I don't know where the attitude comes from, but just to have somebody come up to you out of the blue and just look at you and be like, "Who are you?" Like it's just.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
I.
I do think though that with what you do is great, and I feel for you and I relate to you so much because it's outside of the box thinking, and it probably goes against a lot of the grain here, which I'm all for at this point. Like I don't care how against the grain I am. But I see more and more colleges, schools, social media pages for schools and things like that using some of the photos that my stuff is in, or some of my photos in general. And so it's like that. I feel like that's a good gut punch to the MHSA sometimes when I see those going around.
Hmm.
It's just like at a certain point, they'll have to catch up. And I think you having access to players would make things, a lot easier for what you do and not be stopped at every turn, just like what I do. Because what I do, I've seen people use to help boost their stock.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
videos that I've gotten from the games that nobody else is at. I mean, where else are you going to find that? You're going to rely on the screen grabs from the whatever network that has the single camera panning back and forth. I just think that Montana has to get with the times at some point, and you're a proponent of that as well.
But yeah, I think so. I mean, it's to me, it's a no-brainer. Uh, where things are nowadays, it's the 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 media that you do is what everybody is watching. And most of the media anywhere else is you have to pay $5.99 to get it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, and you're finding these kids. I just love it because I like following the page because for me, being in Montana and loving all these sports, it's hard to get to know the kids, and a lot of these kids have never had their name put anywhere because they are not, you know, the easy ones to get clicks on. So they deserve a good highlight, and they all work hard. And also I love seeing how much interaction there is when you share where do I need to go next. It's really neat. It's building up to be something that I think people anticipate and want to make sure that their area of this state is covered. So good luck on the high. Like, there's are you gonna go to Canada?
Well, getting a passport is on my to-do list for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to go to Canada because I know that they have, their schools that interact with ours down here. Hockey was a big one because that's not MHSA anymore. That's its own thing. And they love having me. Frontier Conference loves having me at stuff. And so it's just like there's people that I talk to that genuinely, when they hear about the issues I have with the MHSA, they're like, what? Like nobody understands. And then depending on the parent, they'll add on their personal complaint about the MHSA on top of that. And apparently there's a lot of them. Like there's plenty to go around. So something has got to give
Mm,
at that because
yeah.
for it to be just high school, I think is kind of ridiculous. It's a weird hill to die on if that's what's happening. So that's just me, but it is. I do love what I do. I do want to be at more tournaments and postseason stuff. I hate when I can't. And people will ask, well, why don't you just go like as a fan? And I could, and there's not nobody's saying I don't want to by any means, but it's just I have sponsors and responsibility now because they pay me for the good stuff. And the good
Hmm.
stuff is when you're down at field level, at, courtside, and you're getting those photos that the parents want anyway. Like they want the stuff they can't get from the stands. And so that's where I come in. And it's not just for them, but they do appreciate it because somebody was telling me that at the end of basketball season, there was like one article that they found, like physical newspaper article from here, where there used to be like, 20 a season.
Yeah.
And now there's one. And so they had to go and raid my photos, which have at it. That's what they're there for their like senior board or their, last game thing that they put together
Oh
for
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And it's like, I never intended that to be the purpose for what I do, but I'm glad that I do it now, hearing that. Like that's just an added bonus. So there's two games that were crosstown that I was the only media at, which is weird because when I got here, I was told crosstown is like the highest priority because
Hmm.
that's your city's thing. And so when I'm the only one at a crosstown, I don't care what the records are. It's weird to me because I'm wondering, okay, well, where is everybody else? Because this is, if you're not here, I don't know where else you could justifiably be. So it's been a thing. There's definitely been highs and lows. The highs outweighed the lows because the lows have
Hmm.
only been not being able to go to state wrestling or state basketball. But man, the amount of parents that I have in my inbox or texting me asking if I'm going to be at this or this, and then I tell them that I can't be, is crazy because, I would love to be there to help capture moments for them that they can't get themselves from the stands. You trained them to ball, to hustle, to grind. Now protect their future and your peace of mind. Retirement, life insurance, risk on lock. Doug Mercado with Northwestern Mutual. Protecting what's important, growing for tomorrow. Call Doug. Your game plan starts today.
It'll happen. It'll happen, I think.
Yeah, the petition's
It's
been good. we're almost to 250. We have a plan for the next step, a super secret plan, but I think it's a good one. I kind of chuckle at it when I think about it, but there are steps to this. I never thought of myself as a proponent for change like this, but I'm very happy to kind of be leading the charge because I know that the reality of Montana is, and somebody brought this to my attention like a year ago, is that as a whole, like Montana as a state is about 10 years behind the curve of the world. And so why what I do is so successful is because I have taken advantage of that. I didn't realize it. I thought I was just doing what I'm used to, obviously being from Spokane and then Omaha and seeing how things are done there. I thought I was just like adding to that, but because they don't do that here and I do now, so I'm on borrowed time, of course, but it's still something that I know the wave is right behind me, and I think the MHSA and others need to realize that as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it just timing and time, I would say timing and time, but uh, the content and the to get it to where it is has been pretty impressive. So, and it's only going to get better, no matter who gives you access or not.
Yeah, we have plans for upgrading some stuff over the summer, and it's not going to just stop at the summer. We do have plans for the summer, so that's good.
Yeah.
But to be invited to like the home and garden show is weird. Never thought that was coming. I'm hosting one of the bison fundraising events, so it's things that I quietly wanted to happen, and now are happening all at once. And so I think it's only a matter of time before I achieve undeniable status, which is what I like to call it. But who knows? That last tooth to pull could be a painful one. But for you, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in what you do, and what are the things that you need to ultimately alleviate those or to take your stuff to a better place?
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever had a conversation other than talking to myself. No.
That's a lot of my conversations, trust me. Or with my
Yeah.
wife, and she's like, "You know what you need to do." And I was like, "I know, but another person can be included in this
Yeah.
conversation."
Well, and I'm my own business. I've been running it 4 years, and I'm constantly evolving because uh, number one, recruiting is always evolving. But and most people don't even know, me, myself, and I know, there's, this has not been easy. And I used to share that, and I don't do it as much because I kind of feel that there's no worth to it. But for what I've done, I mean, I have two more kids left, and it's 100% over 4 years of me working this. But that's, to me, doesn't hold any weight. Um, I don't know if it's because what I do is frowned upon. They think I'm an agent, or when I say they, I'm either a coach or an AD. I don't know what people think of why they don't reach out. Um, I feel maybe because of what I do and what parents and players are going through, they try to problem solve it on their own. And then when they get to me, if it happens, then the opportunity's passed, or they're so far deep in that it's hard to dig out of what they've been trying to do themselves. And some people have called me a recruiting agent, which, I mean, I do. I help these kids try to find a home, but I'm not like an NIL agent that, there's 5 million of them and they're trying to use your name, image, and likeness to make themselves, feel better about themselves. That's that's one thing I promised, and I'm not like that. I don't want to get kids so I can say I got them. I want to get kids because I got the whole driven thing is I got to be coached by a man that changed my life. And these athletes work too hard to get thrown into a situation that is not true to what they deserve. And that's what drives me every day. But there's a disconnect big time because people don't know that I'm even here. And when they do, it takes them 2 years to reach out, or not at all.
Yeah.
So,
Well, a couple of things that I picked up on from there that I found interesting is, you know, you do publicly, if that makes sense, what I did privately. And that is that we're just trying to be advocates for people. So I think I told you the story, but there was a great kid for one of the high schools here who I knew didn't have the support system that they needed. You know, they have one, but it's not at this point in your life, your senior year. Like there's certain support systems that you just need to have in place.
hmm
So they didn't have the support system that they needed. And I didn't know what the coach was doing. Him and I haven't developed quite the rapport that I would have liked yet. I think we're working on it. I think we're real close. But I could tell in talking to him that he was starting to get nervous that his friends were getting offers and he hadn't yet. And he's just as talented. I mean, he's going to play in the Shrine game. So that tells you something right there. So I hit up another coach that I know, and I said, "Hey, who's the point of contact for this school?" And I was just thinking like, this is worst case scenario. I know that they're hard up for people that play his position. So what's the worst that can happen? He's in the same spot he's in right now. So he gave me the contact. I called him up. I said, "Hey, you don't know me, but there's this kid who, if you guys are hard up for linemen, I think would be a great fit. He's blue collar kid. He just wants to play football. He's going to be a homebody, you know, probably stick around close. So he checks what I believe are all your guys' boxes. So if you haven't looked his way, please do so, if you could." And they asked me who it was, and I told them, and they said, "Yeah, no, we'll give him a call." And I don't know, they could have just been saying that, but then sure enough, like I think 2 or 3 weeks later, he posted that he had gotten the offer, and so it's like there was no money in that for me. And I don't think he knows. And I don't care if he ever does know because I didn't do it for any kind of like, public clout or clicks. Like I had a genuine concern for somebody that I've become fond of here and I want to look out for them in the ways that I can. And so I think you publicly do that. So you're not an agent, you're not a recruiter. You're trying to help alleviate a stress because Great Falls High last year alone had like 19 seniors on the football team. Eight of them
hmm
got offers, which is like a record for them.
hmm
And are you telling me that Coach Cheetah, who I know and love, is handling all 19 of those seniors, fielding all their calls? He's still getting calls about Reed Harris. I mean, and when the transfer portal opens, his phone lights up. So, you know, he's got his plate full. And I don't think it's your job necessarily to take over the leftovers, like the ones that coaches like, "Hey, I've got to worry about these guys. Can you handle this?" Like, I don't think it needs to be like that. I think it just needs to be an understanding that, like, hey, you provide a service that can help parents and coaches alike find homes for these athletes, especially if you have a giant graduating class or if you have a graduating class of three seniors. It doesn't matter. Like, you can help where they are maybe overwhelmed. I think that's
hmm
the biggest takeaway that I got from what you were explaining were some of your challenges.
Yeah, to me that's probably the biggest one. And I've had people reach out and speak on my behalf to the ADs of Montana. And I mean, I've been around here. I was born in Great Falls. Um, like I've been around a long time. I don't know what the pitfall is, but the I do from the 4 years I've been working with this, there's a few coaches that for high school that reach out. But I wouldn't say that I get sent a lot of kids. But my thing is for parents and for coaches, number one, coaches, I was there. I know how much you get paid. I know all the work that goes into a program that you have to do on a daily basis. And for parents, why go through this and lose the precious time that you have with your kids of just being their cheerleader and being their parent? And for a coach, do your thing and let me help pretty much teach the kid how to be his own negotiator. And by the time he's done with this, he's got like a master's degree in business communication, for crying out loud, because that's what they have to go through if they want to find their fit. I mean, and a coach hasn't been through a negotiate how, I mean, unless they're in business and that's their other job. But and parents just want to parent. They just want to make their kid at 9 o'clock at dinner and they don't have to ask, hey, did you respond to the coach? Hey, did you get your emails out? Hey, did you get your highlight film and what's the best first minute 30 look like? They just want to go to a game, cheer them on, go out to them like it's and that's what I feel so good about is I can just take that relief. They get relief and I take it on and get to work with the kid alone. So that's another great part of this is it's so nice that I don't hear from parents because it's handled.
And on that note, like for me in my world, I never wanted to have a need for an attorney, but I have one. I have
Hmm.
somebody who I've met in my time with the fan show, who is happy to help me with the lesser serious stuff, like, hey, if I'm looking to do this, what's the best course of action? Or hey, can you give me quote unquote advice on how to handle this situation? And he's even taken the reins on a few things before, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's like that's what he is there for. I
Hmm.
have no aspirations or ambition to have the knowledge of a legal attorney, like at all. Okay. Somebody else can handle that. And so that's what he does. And so I feel like people overlook that there are people out there that are like that in every, you know, world
Hmm.
of the world we live in. So in the sports world or in the news world or in the marketing world or in the business world and the medical world, there are people that help do the work that they're not trained on and don't have the time to train themselves on. And that's you for College Fit. And I also worry about the times where I see people announce that they got an offer and that they're committed to a school. And I'm not frowning upon the school, but let's just throw out, Jada Davis, who I know is a phenomenal player. She plays for Gallatin,
Hmm.
and I think I saw that she's committed to Eastern Washington, which I'm a huge fan of. That's where I went, right out of high school. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go. Go Eags. But I know how talented she is, and so part of me wonders, like, is that the best that she could do? Like, was she properly led to all available possibilities? And so I think that's where someone like you comes in to make sure that they're not just getting offers, but they're getting the right offer for them or the best offer for them.
Yeah, it's so much. And I tell families all the time, to get seen, that's not what they need help. A lot of these kids don't need the help of getting seen. They need the help on everything that happens in between and after that is never shared on social media. And there's so many components to number one, getting seen in what you're doing, then what happens once you start doing that, and then what happens once you now have to compare 7 offers or even a kid that has 3. There's so many things and it's not even it's comparing offers. It's hey, have you thought of like she's going out of state. I That is a big rule for me for any kid is no matter if you think you want to stay in state, you have to at least visit one school out of state because you don't know if your best fit might just be on the other side of this border, but you have to put yourself out there a little bit. So that's also something that a lot of kids they've they're hyper focused on reaching out to 5 schools and you got to find your best fit and I sometimes those 5 schools is not in that. So yeah, it's such a it's a onion and there's so many layers and it shifts and change within a moment. It's crazy.
Yeah, Josh Eustace said it best last year when I interviewed him, and he's just like, if you get the chance to leave, leave, because
Hmm.
home will always be there. And I mean, who would know better than him, right? Because he
Yeah,
went out and he did it. And I know that he was a very talented individual, all that stuff, but I think it started with him going outside the state line. I really do. I think that if he would
yeah,
have been Josh Eustace at U of M or MSU, I don't know if the story ends the same. But I think just being at Stanford, which is not, the big basketball names that we're used to, like UCLA or
hmm,
Villanova or Gonzaga. I mean, he probably could have gone to Gonzaga, but the point being is that he went somewhere that got a little bit more attention, and I think that is ultimately what the difference maker was. So I love that he was very open, very blunt about that. If you can leave, leave, because you can always come back home.
Yeah.
So, for you, as we wrap up here, what's the best way to get people to get in touch with you and the service that you can help offer for them and their kids?
Well, I am on social media.
That's where
Um,
it's at. That's where it's at.
yeah, I'm on, the Facebook, uh, Twitter, Instagram, um, websites, www.collegefitconsulting.com. Um, and I have a lot of stuff on there. I have resources for ADs, I have resources for parents. You can see my alumni crew on there. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I want to help answer questions. Uh, and I'm starting to really get, I don't take a lot of kids either. That's the other thing is I think my most I took, which I don't even know how I did it, was 17 at one time.
Oh, wow.
So I right now I'm at 13 for 2026s. So my 2027s, and I just picked up a 2028. So that's probably the biggest thing is most parents use the I don't know when to start when they first reach out to me. And I would definitely say, just a hot tip, as soon as your kid has varsity level film or scores, so track, golf, if they have varsity level scores or making varsity, go. That's your cue. Until then, you can still reach out and I'll help you on your little milestones on what you should expect. But that's one thing, a big question when parents contact me is I just don't know when to start. Well, if they're showing interest and they have varsity level film, go do it. So,
Yeah, there's a few players right now that I know are they're just ending their sophomore year or they have
mhm,
one more year to go. And it's like, that the whole last season like is stuff that you could start sending out there, right? And they're like,
mhm.
oh well, I still have however, I don't know, but man, like come on. Like
Yeah,
let's go.
most they don't most parents and athletes, they don't realize as soon as you have that, it's not so much, well, I think there's a lot of side of it is where they think about the D1 calendar, their recruiting calendar, and you're not just trying to get recruited via D1. So they have rules that they can't reach out to you until at like June of your sophomore year. Well, that that there's like 800 other schools that don't have that.
Yeah.
And you're competing against 30 other people or 100 other people in your position. So the sooner you can start, the better. And especially now with NIL, I'm telling parents sophomore year, if you have stuff, you got to roll. So,
All right. Well, as she said, she's a fan of the fan show. I love those people. Those are my favorite people, the fans of the fan show. You started doing what you did for the same reason I started doing mine is because you were asking the questions that if you were in that situation, you would want to know. And sometimes, folks, it is seriously that simple. So we are people just trying to offer a service. Very little about the monetary value. I only want enough sponsors to make this a full-time gig, which it I think about is now. But we're not trying to go and buy Bentleys off the showroom floor anytime soon. Like we just are trying to help make this place better than how it was when we found it. For you, you're born and raised here. For me though, I'm literally just trying to leave it better than I found it, whatever whenever that time is. But I think there's a lot of good that you do for the state of Montana and its youth. And I'm just trying to help with that however I can. So it was great to finally get to sit down with you and have a conversation like this, and we could finally get you on the show.
well, thank you, Richard. This was fun. Yeah, I'm glad you're here and these kids deserve to have a spotlight shown on them. So you're doing a good job. So thanks for having me on and thanks for everyone that listens and supports him too.
Yeah, we'll have to get you up to Great Falls for something. I'll probably be at the Shrine Game in Butte, but we got
Hmm.
a whole spring season and then a whole new year next year ahead, so we can have
Yeah.
an LWJ stop up here sometime
Yeah.
and get you introduced to all the right people. But you can find her LWJ on all the social channels. She is Linda Jacobson. It's been so great talking with her and getting to know a little bit more about just what she does, which is help people, help young athletes find the perfect fit for their college careers to continue at that level. So until next time, which I think we'll probably be back with Zach, getting ready for the summer break and the camps coming up. But I've got some stuff to get ready for here. So for LWJ, I am the team man, Richard Teeman, and we will see you next time.